The New England Patriots fullback James Develin took to social media on Monday to announce his retirement from the NFL. I'm Sierra Goodwill here with Evan Lazar. Develin was on IR last season due to a neck injury that apparently was a lot more serious. He says the complications from this injury is what led to his decision to retire from football. Evan, your reactions to the news?
Yeah, I think that this is something that we did see potentially coming with James Develin, just the nature of a neck injury. On top of that, being a fullback and having to kind of go into a pile and put your head down and really make contact with people. It's obviously a risky endeavor, and any sort of kind of bigger injury like that could come from that on your spine or your neck. You just don't want to mess with anything like that. So not a big shock to me that Develin's retiring, and it doesn't seem like it's a big shock to the Patriots either. They obviously already had Jakob Johnson on the roster, who's had a similar, not a neck injury, but another season-ending injury to Johnson last year that made them put Landon Roberts at fullback. We all remember that. But they still have Jakob on the roster. They brought in Dan Vitale in free agency, who was a fullback, and then they draft Dalton Keene, who's technically a tight end, but did a lot of backfield type of work at Virginia Tech as a lead blocker. So I don't think that Keene's the type of guy that's necessarily going to meet the Mike linebacker in the hole like James Develin did, but he's someone that can get out on the perimeter and block in space and have good athleticism to get up to good speed and make adjustments and do that kind of stuff. So we did a lot of that at Tech. So I think that they kind of had this coming a long way. They have Vitale and Jakob Johnson to sort of duke it out for that traditional fullback role. And if they have to, they can use Keene in that sort of way as well.
And obviously, fullbacks don't get a lot of praise in the NFL, but Sony Michel made sure to give it to James Develin, saying how crucial he is to his running game and how following a block from anyone else isn't quite the same as following it from Develin. How much of a blow was this to the Patriots running backs?
Yeah, and you can see that in the statistics too, especially with Sony, sort of his yards per carry average with James Develin versus without James Develin, especially over in the 2018 season, his rookie year, was a pretty stark difference when they had the fullback on the field. It's just something that the Patriots like schematically, and I don't think that any fullback, besides maybe Kyle Juszczyk in San Francisco, gets more credit than James Develin did from that New England locker room, not just in terms of what he brought on the field, but also his leadership and just the kind of intangible qualities that he brought to the locker room as a whole. That coaching staff gushes about him. The players gush about him. So in that respect, I think it is a pretty big kind of heartfelt loss for this team. And two people that stood out to me, two quotes, I guess, that stood out to me. One was Ivan Fears last year calling James Develin the guiding light for the running backs. I'll never forget that. He was the one, he said that point blank, Develin's the one that picks the hole. Develin's the one that picks the angle. He's the one that does all of the sort of mental processing, if you will, for the guy behind him. And all Sony Michel or Rex Burkhead or James White has to do running behind him is just follow him straight through the path. So that's an element of the fullback position that the Patriots really like, because it makes the decision for the running back a lot easier, and it sort of gives him a defined read on the situation. All you're going to do is really read off of or run off of James Develin's block, and that's all you got to do. And it kind of makes it a little bit of like a snapshot. So instead of looking at the entire line of scrimmage and saying, where do I go? Now you're just looking at this one little area of following Develin and working left or right off of him. So a lot of praise being heaped on Develin over the last couple of years. He was a huge part of what they did down the stretch in 2018. Obviously, he was on the field for every single rushing touchdown in the postseason in 2018. All 6 of Michel's rushing touchdowns came with James Develin in the backfield. So a big loss for the Patriots, but a one that they've been preparing for, certainly.
Well, we definitely wish Develin the best in his non-football endeavors. For the rest of our Patriots coverage, head to our website at clnsmedia.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Patriots Press Pass.